Welcome to the Life Self-Mastery Podcast, where we bring in entrepreneurs who have created online businesses and improved their lifestyles. Here's your host, Rohit Malhotra.
Hi everyone, I'm Rohit from lifestylemastery.com, and today we have Amber Mcdonald, who's a founding member of Indemnis and has led business operations since the company's formation. Amber oversees operations, sales, marketing, business development, and strategic partnerships, among other roles. Amber is a BA in journalism and public relations and an executive MBA with emphasis in strategic leadership. Amber is based out of Alaska. Welcome to the show, Amber.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, let the listeners know about, about your journey and what made you start in Indemnis.
Really, I got involved because my business partner, who we had a previous video production business, came up with the idea to get it started. So it was just a natural progression for us to move into this, as it was something that he wanted to run with and asked me to join him. And we had already been working together at that time for 5 or 6 years. And I said, okay, and away we went.
Okay. So, but you were earlier running a printing company, is it?
So I've owned multiple businesses my entire life. I am an owner, a part owner in a screen printing company. That was something that's a different segment, and I still own that today. But Alan and I had owned a video production company that we ran before Indemnis, and all of the founding members of Indemnis met through the video production or film industry, and that's how we kind of all connected and came together.
Got it. You're trying to solve a very interesting problem. So can you tell people about Indemnis and why did you really want to solve this problem with Alan?
So Alan was flying a drone one day and for Discovery Communications and Animal Planet, and it was during the film incentive up here in Alaska, and there was a lot of reality shows, and the drones kept crashing to the ground, and there were technological issues. The technology was still very new. And so through that process, he came up with the idea to put a bubble around a drone, because it wasn't necessarily the drone that everybody was worried about losing. It was crashing into a crew member or cast, or even worse, a car on the road and causing a 10-car pileup, something like that. And so the thought was that if we could bring the drone down slowly and safely, that it would be a safer operation as the business scaled. And so it started with an internal concept, but also realizing how nascent the market was, we were able to forward predict the uses that are now everyday uses and see that. And so very quickly it became, hey, we can do this for us. Let's do it for everyone.
Okay, and how does the drone work? I understand there's a customized design parachute which helps the drone land properly.
So we are an aftermarket product, and we produce for the DJI Inspire 2, M210, and M600 currently. And so a drone, a multi-rotor, is different. The dynamics when they fail are different than standard aviation. When a multi-rotor crashes to the ground, it goes into a high-speed roll and tumble scenario. So the way that our system works is it's a clip-on quick compression clamp that you put on, and you think of it, the unit itself, think of it like an inverted sock. So we take a parachute and we invert it inside of a tube, and that tube is housed within about an 8-inch area that clips onto the drone, and that is the Nexus unit. So when it fires, it deploys and rises up from that tube, protecting all the parachute lines and the shroud lines, and firing at 90 miles an hour in 30 milliseconds. That tube then remains inflated at about 30 psi. And so it acts as kind of a stick or a barrier holding the attachment point of the parachute outside of the roll radius of the drone. So as it's falling to the ground, you can envision someone literally holding a stick and holding the parachute outside of any potential points of entanglement. And it allows time for the parachute canopy to open successfully. And that's sort of what makes our product so unique. It's completely scalable, and we do have different size parachutes for different units, but the core guts of each unit are the same.
Got it. And so do you have, other competitors who also, trying to solve the same problem, or I think you still have the patent pending, or have you already got the patent for this particular solution you got?
So I think what you're asking is like, what other companies are our competition?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. There are definitely other companies on the market that are producing parachute systems. What makes our system so unique is that it works in all areas of the flight envelope. So what may work very great in a hover situation is not necessarily what's going to work in a full forward flight. So Indemnis, there's an upcoming released ASTM standard that really sets the bar for the bare minimum functionality on a drone. And it's a scaled down test matrix of our own internal Indemnis systems. We've been working very hard with industry leaders, other parachute manufacturers, the FAA, to be able to produce this consensus standard. And so Indemnis is the first company that can meet that standard. And that's what really sets us apart from the other parachute manufacturers on the market for drones, is that we are seeking regulated, safe commercial flight, and we are seeking FAA approval. So it's our goal to enable flight operations for companies big and small over people. And basically the FAA has said, until there's a product and a proven solution on the market that can meet the level of impact energy and prove that when a 20-pound hunk of metal falls out of the sky, that it's not going to kill somebody, we're not going to allow flight over people. And that's what the Indemnis Nexus does, is that it proves that when a drone fails, that it's not going to kill somebody. It's not going to hurt somebody. We've done the engineering data. We have done the impact studies. We've crashed them into ATDs and done the human injury studies and crashed them into cadavers and been able to prove that if you launch a Nexus and if for some reason your drone fails and you need a recovery system, that the Nexus will be there for that just in case safety to bring down your drone and not hurt or kill somebody.
Okay, and I want to know what were your customer acquisition channels? How did you get your first 1,000 users? And before that, if you can talk about who's the product for? Who's your target customer?
Absolutely, our target customer would be everyday commercial drone operators who want to fly, for example, infrastructure inspection in a populated area. So right now, we're going through the process and we're finalizing all of our research data and compiling our waiver as Indemnis. And then we're going to take that template and then be able to offer it to our customers to go through the same process. So we anticipate, just given where everything's at with the FAA, that it will be a moderate ramp up. It's not going to be something that we announce and sell 100,000 units tomorrow. We're going to have a very slow process and provide we're kind of the all-inclusive package. We have the physical hardware, but we're also going to provide the pilot training, the waiver template, the safety data case, and everything that is needed to be able to integrate your drone into the national airspace and expand commercial use of drones. But we have to do that on a small scale first, right? We need to earn the trust of the FAA and be able to prove that we can take our product and template that to other customers. So we'll probably start with about 100 customers in our first year. and then move up from there. But once we have the reliability, then it'll just be the same process as your airbag in your car. It'll be a federally approved product that is a safety solution, and it'll be there to enable flight over people.
Okay, and what is your strategy to get those first 100 users, or do you use paid ads to get more customers?
Gotcha. To be honest, we exhibit at the largest trade show in the drone industry called Exponential every year, and where we stand today, we have a list already of thousands of users who are waiting for our product to hit the market. So we're selecting very specific users right now for our beta program, and we're working through that process with them. And that we already have them, I guess. We're working through it.
Okay, and what is the price or what is the cost for this particular drone?
So we haven't set the per unit price once we go to market. It will be somewhere in the range of $3,500 to $8,500, depending on the unit and which platform.
Okay, and I've understood about the users, but are you also targeting shipping, healthcare, agriculture, or you're going to focus on construction first and then move on to other areas?
Oh no, we are using a beta user from every industry. So you have everything from broadcasting, aerial imaging, like you said, shipping, healthcare, medical transport, infrastructure inspection, site surveying, mapping, oil or gas or mineral exploration. Yeah, no, we're not limiting it, and it's not necessarily all big customers either or large companies. I mean, they're everyday users as well. The number one thing for us is working with experienced pilots and people who have a track record with the FAA and can prove that they can complete safe operations, at least for our beta users, right?
Right. Got it. And how much money have you raised till now?
So before the Republic campaign, we raised $3.4 million from individual investors here in the state of Alaska and their networks. So branching out from friends and family and just organically who we have connected with. And through, I think our campaign is up to 280 some odd thousand today.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to come to and speak about the Republic campaign, but what was the money used for? You and is it for building a product or getting more people onto your team?
I think it's a little bit of both. To date, that has been something that is not just carried our general operations, but we're research and development, and we've crashed a lot of drones. And when you think that, it costs us $5,000 to up to $15,000 every time we crashed a drone, we had to crash a lot of drones to figure out the dynamics of what happens. One of the things that sets Indemnis apart is because we started as drone operators, we understood the problems, and we actually went out and researched what happens when a drone crashes to the ground and studied the dynamics of the failure states to be able to engineer the solution. So we had to spend money to get to that point. And that's a majority of what everything's been spent on. So soft tooling, R&D, scaling up, preparing for manufacturing, facility upgrades, equipment, and then ultimately continual operations.
Okay, and you've chosen Republic platform to raise crowdfunding, but why not look at a VC or AngelList to raise funds? So, and what is the strategy for using the money that you raised for Republic?
Yeah, absolutely. So we chose Republic because honestly, they seemed like a very well put together platform, and the people there were extremely helpful. we decided to do the crowdfunding avenue instead of VC so that we could give ourselves just a little bit more runway to obtain our waiver. There's been very few waivers granted for flight over people. CNN was able to obtain one a few years ago for a 1 pound, 4 ounce. It's called a snap drone, and it's a set of magnets that basically falls apart on impact. And aside from that, there are a few other minor cases, but ultimately there is not a risk mitigation tool or a case that can be repeated for everyday consumers and for the commercial operators that want to be able to obtain access to this airspace or this portion of the cities across the United States and across the globe, really. And so once we obtain a waiver, it impacts our valuation very greatly. And we have refrained from VCs until we're able to prove out our valuation, because we want to create the best value for our investors to date. And if we can move through this process as quickly as possible with the funds we raise from Republic and other direct investors, then we can get to a point of creating organic revenue. And, you know, who knows, we might be the next unicorn company with $100 million valuation for our Series A.
Awesome. So once you raise the funding from Republic, so the money is going to be used for creating more products and for doing more experimentations, or you're looking at getting more salespeople who can sell drones?
No, it's not for labor. It is specifically what we're scaling up for right now. And our number one focus over the next 6 to 9 months is really focused on building our safety case and completing, in order to meet the standard that is being published for the ASTM standard that can be pointed to for waiver impact studies. You have to have 45 tests with 100% accuracy. You need to have all of your engineering data in place. So you would have need to have done, which we already have done, our human impact studies, and we're in the process of doing our third-party testing. But there's a lot of outside costs that we need to pay to other agencies to basically rubber stamp or validate all of the internal testing that we've already been able to prove to date. So it will be really for buttoning up that entire process and pulling our package together to be able to submit that for the waiver to the FAA.
Okay, and do you think it's a disadvantage to to be in Alaska and raise funds? Do you think companies there in Silicon Valley or New York or Boston, for that matter, have an advantage in terms of raising funds as well as for getting talent?
I mean, I could answer that question either way. I would say that, yes, it's been a struggle to raise funds being a tech startup in Alaska, because it's not something that happens every day. And on the flip side, I mean, if we were in Silicon Valley, for example, I think we would have had a lot easier time getting funded and getting connected with large VCs. But on the flip side, we've been able to also maintain a lot more equity than I think we would have if we had gone to a VC earlier on.
Okay. And so correct me if I'm wrong. So you don't have any revenues for now, right?
We do not have any revenues currently.
Yeah, and no customers for now. And that's a plan for next year to build a customer base and to have more revenue, right?
Yeah, we don't have any paying customers. We do have a long list of people waiting for a product, and we do collect their information.
Okay, got it. And who else is in your team? And if you can talk about about your teammates and your investors.
Our team. So we started with 6 founders. And Alan Erickson, our CTO, is really it was his brainchild from the beginning. And he was my business partner, like I was saying earlier. Alan and I have led the executive side of things since our formation. We had Mackenzie Banbury, who really spearheaded the material technology and was able to figure out the science behind what makes our tube. So one thing that I didn't mention is our tube is made from a material called Dyneema, and it's the lightest, strongest fiber in the planet. It had never been bonded before, so that was one of the things that really was a technological breakthrough for us. We figured out how to bond the material to itself to create that inflatable apparatus. We also had Mike Collier, who he's our embedded systems software engineer, and Mitch Monet, who really has carried us through the prototyping. He's the machinist side of things. Maddie was involved early on and is our only founding member who is not currently employed with the company, and he did our website and other design stuff for us early on. But really what made us so unique is that we had the perfect combination of people who nobody's jobs overlapped. Everybody was experts in their field, and we all were able to collaboratively work together. We recognized our gaps, and we brought on a chief engineer very early on. He was our first founding employee, and then an RF engineer quickly behind him. So together we have what we consider a rock solid founding team, and it has allowed us to be able to make decisions very quickly, to commit to our actions. And I mean, you're either going to do great at something or you're going to fail at something, but the important part is to overcome it quickly and to learn from it. And that's what our team, I think, excels at.
Right, startup teams feel like a family because you're building stuff together, right? But are there a lot of tech companies there in Alaska?
There are not a lot of tech companies in Alaska, no.
Okay, got it. So let's quickly do the top three. What's your favorite business book?
My favorite business book, and it's funny, it's The Hard Things About Hard Things, or The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and it's by Ben Horowitz, and it's my favorite book because it's real. And I always say that when we're done with this journey and we can sit back and laugh about all the crazy things that have occurred, that I'm going to write a book like that that's going to tell people not the good stuff, but the really like down to earth, hey, we may have messed up over here, but this is how we overcame it. And if you ever see yourself in this situation, here's some tips.
Yeah, that's one great book, being recommended by a lot of other entrepreneurs on this podcast. And if you could go back in time when you started working on Indemnis, what is the one thing you would have focused on?
If I could go back in time, I would have told 4 years ago me that this is going to be a much longer journey, and to spend more time on myself and to have more self-care and to make sure and make it a priority, whether or not that's setting aside a couple hours a week to just decompress and unplug and not necessarily spend that time with my family, but make it time just to focus on me. And that would be my one piece of advice. I do it rather well now, but earlier me should have learned that sooner.
Yeah, okay, got it. And what's your favorite online tools, for example, Gmail or Slack?
We use Hive very, very regularly at work, and it's a really great way because I travel so much to be able to communicate with all of our different departments and all of the staff, and it makes everybody feel very included in the projects that we're doing. So you have everybody from the top down that gets to see every aspect of the conversations, and it makes everything very transparent so that regardless of where you're at on the ladder, you feel like a part of the team and you're able to contribute. So I really appreciate that as a tool.
Okay, and if you could talk more about the Republic campaign that you're running.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Republic.co/Indemnis. We have about 40 days left. Like I said, we raised just over $280,000, and our goal is to try to reach $1 million. We're extremely excited about not only the progress that we've made, but all of the investors that have sort of backed us and joined us on this journey. It just proves that we're at a point in not just our industry, but as a society, that people see this coming to fruition and can get excited about this. So contribute today, invest in the future. And, we would be extremely happy, I guess, for anybody who's able to join us on our journey at any level, whether that's $100, whether that's $1,000, whether that's $25,000.
Awesome. I'll put that in the show notes. And what is the best way people can reach out to you?
I'm available at any time by email, amber@indemnis.com. You can also call our main line, but I would be more than happy at any time to answer questions about the drone industry, answer questions about Indemnis, answer questions about the upcoming standard and how we're able to meet it, or our campaign, our republic.co/Indemnis campaign, any of those.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on to the show. I really appreciate speaking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Life Self-Mastery podcast, where we teach you how to start and grow your online business. For more information, visit Rohit's blog at www.lifeselfmastery.com.